I figured, yeah, I want out. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I expected. I'm not sure what I really expected. But then the drill sergeant of the platoon I was going to be assigned to said I didn't really want out bad enough because I wasn't crying. And he berated me till I started crying. And then the um, battalion sergeant major was walking by, pulled me aside, said, let me talk to the recruit. Talked to me and walked me around, showed me a couple women. Tears were still streaming down my face. I was trying to get my composure, and they kind of laughed at me, and that pissed me off. Sorry for the use of that, but that was just the nutshell that no, that's not going to happen. So I completed basic training. Sergeant Major said, in 5 weeks, if you still want out, I'll get you set up and get you out. 5 weeks came along. I saw Sergeant Major out in the field, said, Sergeant Major, this is Private Clapham. I've decided to stay in. He's like, I figured you would. I guess he knew how to read people, but better than what I thought I knew myself at the time. And I completed basic training, even though I ended up in the hospital near the end of basic for about a week, and I was afraid of being recycled. The drill sergeant said it wasn't going to happen. They were going to get it. I was on quarters. From being in the hospital for a week, they got me through testing. I was able to test out of basic training. It didn't have to be recycled, which was wonderful because I didn't think I could handle, because they weren't going to let me go home and go to school. I was immediately going to go through with whatever unit was at that point, which meant learning a whole new cadre, which no, at that point I was not wanting to do. Then I came back home, found out that I was being made the supply officer in ROTC, had to get all that stuff, got yelled at by the assistant army instructor, which will be in my memoirs, about not being there in time. I'm like, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia. I can't make the Army let me come home to go to school. It's kind of the thing when you sign up for the Army. Top, you've been there. And sometimes we call the first sergeant Top. Just one of their many nicknames as Top Dog or Top Sergeant. They're the first sergeant. So he was retired first sergeant. Wonderful guy. My senior year, I ended up getting issues that put me on medical hold from going back to AIT, which is advanced individual training. So I wasn't able to leave for Georgia after my senior year. I was trying to get a stomach issue under control with medications. Then I started my community college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. After that year of medical hold, I was able to go back and finish my advanced individual training with a group of people I didn't know a single person. Had I gone the year before, I may have been with some of the same people that were on the same program set as me. We might have been in the same unit, might not, but we might have seen each other around post. So I got to learn a whole new group of people and experience things from there. Completed AIT as an infantry soldier. I was painted blue by the United States Army. The cross rifles and blue discs and the infantry cord, whole 9 yards. It was an achievement to have, as most infantry soldiers know that feeling of completing that part of their life. I didn't see the need in going air assault or airborne, especially airborne, because I don't feel there's any need to jump out of a perfectly good airplane while it's in the air. It will land eventually. If it's going down, I'll strap on a parachute and learn how to jump then, is my philosophy. With that and going through the National Guard, I was able to still stay in school and work on different careers. I started out pre-med lab tech, had some issues with chemistry. My college guidance counselor said, "Go back to your high school guidance counselor and sarcastically thank her for not putting you in chemistry in high school." So I did. She had no clue. And like I told you, I was college prep. So she didn't want to get that. Uh, I ended up with an injury during an annual training event, and I made a comment when Saudi had picked up that I wish I could be over there with the guys fighting when I called in this one radio station to get the weather for our radio station because I was a radio DJ, Rhythm Rockin' Ryan. I started out with this one guy's show, and then the next year it was just was my show, Rhythm Rockin' Ryan, and then the first year it was Rhythm Ryan because it was Rockin' Robin, Rhythm Ryan. He included me in his show, even though I wasn't in broadcasting yet. When I got into broadcasting, that changed things. We will investigate a little bit of that more later, probably, because I have had a nice little radio show. And then I ended up going on active duty, moved into computer systems repair. From there, I moved into went to Fort Eustis, Georgia. Fort Eustis, Virginia from Georgia, where I spent 6 months this time. The first basic and AIT were at Fort Benning. This one's at Fort Gordon. Then the military decided to get rid of the system I was working on. I ended up back at Fort Gordon, Georgia, where I met my wife. I know I said I was going to talk a little bit about my family. Wasn't able to get to them, giving you a little bit more background and history into me. We will talk about my spouse and family in the next episode. We have been married for 26 years this August. I have been in transition for 3 of those years. Almost 4 of those years. 4 by then. 22 years of marriage is when I came out to my wife. After moving into my public health degree, I knew I wanted to become a doctor, and I knew I was going to have transgender people at some point in time in my medical career. So I needed to research and figure out why transgender people are the way they are. So I started out watching a very popular TV show about transgender people and learning. And it just happened to be the episode where she had to get her last testosterone blocker because she is a minor and she started transitioning early, and they start her with her consent and her parents and the doctors. They started HRT early for her. So she didn't develop the issues that the rest of us have developed. And then even though she's had her own battles in there, but her dad's insurance was going to change and they weren't going to cover anything. And I thought that was an outrage. So that's why I went into public health. During my public health, I started tackling healthcare issues for the transgender community. With that, this point in time, we have 2 girls and 3 boys. Our youngest daughter was born while I was in my public health degree. And so growing up, knowing me this way, she sees pictures of my past. It gives her a sense of normalcy that otherwise wouldn't be there for a lot of people. I will explore my family in the next episode. You'll get to know them a little bit better. And I just am excited that you are on this journey with me and learning about me, my family, my advocacy, being transgender, being a transgender veteran, and being able to help educate you in the least little bit. I really hope that you have been able to pick up something from this and move forward with life. And again, if you have any comments or questions, please email me at combatboots to all together, HEALS, at mail.com. I look forward to reading anything that you have. You may contact me through my blog page, Combat Boots to High Heels. You can find me on Facebook at Combat Boots to High Heels. I hope you have enjoyed this today, and I would want to thank you for tuning in to Combat Boots to High Heels on Society Bites Radio. It's part of the Radio Ear Network family, and I hope you have a glorious and wonderful day. See you next week.